right, good morning, everyone. Morning, everybody on Facebook Live. We've got a great program planned for you today. Topic, goal setting and business planning for 2018. I want to thank Elite Home Staging for the staging up front here. If you have any needs, they're out front of the auditorium. I've got two great guest speakers this morning. Santiago Arana, coming up, Santiago from the agency. Hey guys.
Hello, hello.
Good, you can sit down here. And Jeffrey Saad from Compass. Come on, Jeffrey. So, let's start out. Goal setting. Are goals important to you, Santiago? Is it something you put any effort or energy into?
Yes. Yeah, I think goals are super important for everything. You know, you need to have personal goals, you need to have business goals, you need to have all sorts of different goals. Because if you don't have goals, the way I always say is like, if you jump in an Uber, okay, and you don't know where you're going, that'll be really expensive and it will be a lot of waste of time, right? Same thing with goals. It's like if you don't know where you're going, then you probably will spend a lot of time, will spend a lot of money, and waste a lot of time and get nowhere, right? So yes, goals are very, very important in my life in all levels.
And our goal, when did you first think about setting goals? Is it something you did early on in your life, something you've done recently? When did goals become important to you?
I think goals became important to me when I was in college. You know, because you have a year and you need to, you know, pass all your classes that year. So, you know, that's a goal. You know, it's like making sure that you pass all your classes, get the best grades you can. That's a good goal. And then you go on vacation and celebrate and go and have fun, you know. I think it started there. So I started to understand the concept of study hard and then you're going to party hard in vacation, right? And then I just, as I grow and I start doing business and working in places, you know, obviously the goals start to monetizing, you know, starts to become like, okay, how much money do I need to make this year to have the lifestyle I want to have or to provide to my family? So, and as the years go on, you just keep, you know, improving the goals and improving the goals. And the great thing about goals and setting goals is like you have a direction, and when you get there, there is a satisfaction that I think goes in the brain, and your brain tells you that you can do that. So the next year when you set a higher goal, then you're just pushing yourself and you're growing and you're growing and you're growing. And that's what I've been doing for over 12 years, 13 years, and it's worked well.
Jeffrey, your thoughts around setting goals?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, one of my favorite sayings is, you know, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. You know, and I've always tried to say life should be deja vu. Like every chapter of my life, I'm like, wait, I've been here before. Oh, that's right, because I visualized it so deeply. I saw it so completely that it just keeps coming to fruition. And that's what goals allow you to do. And I think a lot of people maybe experience vujade. You know what that is? That feeling you've never been there because you never knew where you were going anyway. So I like that feeling that I know where I'm going to be. Everything Santiago said, I mean, that's just what it is. When you have a target, it's exciting to hit it, and then that cocktail at night is like a twist of success instead of misery on the rocks. You know, because either way, we know we're having that cocktail.
Right.
So was there an event in your life that turned you on to goals, or where suddenly this became a good idea for you?
I'm going to let you all see how truly simple-minded I really am. My first moment of like the power of goal setting, like you, college, I was 18 years old. I was standing there in my little white belt, my first Taekwondo class, you know, and Master Pak came out, 50 years old, and he stood there and he put his legs straight in the air while he was talking to us. And I was like, oh my God. And here I am, my white belt, and just like real estate, but in my mind I was already a black belt. You know, I was like, I'm doing this. I can see it. I'm going to be flying through the air. And he said the greatest thing. He said, you want to kick head level? You need to be able to reach head level. So my very first goal was to be able to do the splits. He's like, right, if you want to reach, you got to be there. So I'm like, all right, I'll be better than every one of these guys because I'm going to be able to wake up. And then, you know what this guy used to do? He'd set his alarm clock at 3 in the morning, and his goal was to wake up and kick head level and go back to sleep. He's like, because if you ever need this stuff, you're not going to be able to say, oh, excuse me, I'm going to kick your ass, but let me just warm up here and stretch this out, and I'll be ready. You know, it's like you have to train to be ready. So that was my first real moment of like seeing myself in the future, even though I had none of those skills yet, and then having a goal and getting a little bit better, a little bit more flexible every day, and then seeing the results that that gave me, you know.
And how has your process in terms of thinking about goals evolved over the years?
Well, I think it's like people shouldn't think of the end of the year as this monumental shift. It shouldn't be this brand new whole thing you're doing. The way I've looked at it is it's like you have a life journey. So each year's goals should just be kind of like tapping the rudder. You know, you're keeping yourself on track. I mean, somebody like this guy is doing more business than all of us by January, you know, but for most of us, it's like if your goal is big to begin with and you believe in it, then every year you're just kind of tweaking a little bit. I think if you're doing this master reset every year, then that might be your first problem, unless it's just one time because you've seen the light. But the reality is the goals for me have become very peaceful because they're kind of like an ongoing evolution. The journey is amazing. It's not January 1st, December 31st. They're both great days. They just happen to be in different years, you know.
I think you're being a little humble. I think that as someone like you that has a business going, that's been doing this for so long, yes, small shifts is good. But I actually am a believer that if your shit's not working, you need a massive plan of action. You need to shake things up, because if you don't, then, see, people all the time say, okay, it's 2018, it's going to be amazing, it's going to be a new year, and they wait for like 11:59 on the last day of December of 2017, and they said, as soon as the clock changes, this year is going to be amazing. Really? Well, like a magic? I mean, what are you doing about it? It's like, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a plan of action of what exactly is what you're going to do, how many doors you're going to knock, I mean, literally like a detailed plan of what you're going to do, where you want to be, personally also, do I want to lose weight, do I want to gain weight, do I want to, whatever it is that, you know, you want to do, if you don't know, you don't have a plan, magically, just because the digits change, is not going to happen, okay? So if you keep doing the same thing, expect the same result. So that's why I'm saying that the more you shake it, the more you want to change things, the more you want to become something different, then that's how it's going to go to the next year, and you'll see different results for sure, guarantee.
So talk about your 2017 goals. What were your goals for this year?
Business-wise, my goal was to get to 500 million.
I have to go now?
Personal, you know, I have goals where, you know, I want to travel with my family. I want to travel with my wife alone specifically. I want to read this many amount of books. I want to exercise, and I want to maintain myself on a certain way with certain body fat. Those are the kind of goals that I set.
Okay. Talk about the goal of 500 million. How did you arrive at that goal, and do you stay connected to your goals daily, weekly? How do you keep the goal alive in front of you?
All right, so in my office, for those that have been there, I have a big board where I put exactly, you know, I put my listings in there, I put my clients, I put what properties I have in escrow, and I put properties that I'm working on getting the listings. And then I have a number, I put in the top what my goal is going to be, which was $500,000, and then I start, I have by month of what the closings are, and then I have a total on what it's getting. So it becomes very visual, so I look at it every day, I know where I am, I know where I need to be, so that keeps me on track of how I need to be. But you got to understand that for me also, I have other goals. You know, Mauricio's here right now, and you know, we work on growing the company too. So I have goals of, you know, growing the agency, getting the agency in different marketplaces, which is something that actually we're going to be doing, like, you know, a little bit more intensive next year. So we're planning to go in different places. So that's, you know, also goals that I set.
500 million is a big goal.
Yeah, it is.
Is it hard to hold a goal like that?
You know,
because when you start at the beginning of the year, you're at zero, right? That's a pretty big gap between zero and 500 million.
So 2016, I had the same goal. And I knew towards September, and I know we had a meeting, that it was going to be a little bit tough to get to the 500 million. So I asked you, should I adjust my goal? And you say, you scream at me, you know, no! I was like, shit. And ever since Steve pissed. So I was like, okay, but there's not like a confusion that, you know, you have your goal and you're not going to get there or whatever. He's like, listen, that's your goal. And if you don't get now, you're going to get next year. So last year, I was farther than where I am now. So I just kept the same goal. You see, I didn't go to 600, but I didn't go to 400 either. I kept that goal, and I want to get to that goal. And when I get to that goal, then my goal maybe will go to 600 or 700. And it's worked well. You know, this year has definitely been, I mean, I double, basically, I think, from last year. I need to check my numbers. But I'm not at 500, but I'm very close to it.
Let's take a minute here, guys.
Thank you.
He sent out an email last month with about 100 million worth of closings.
For the month?
In a month. How did that feel?
It was a good month. It was a really good month. I mean, I got a call from someone, and I don't remember who it was. It was like, hey, you have a good year last month. I'm like, yeah. No, it was an amazing month. I think it was the best month of my career. Probably, yes.
What I see with people is, they'll set a goal at the beginning of the year, and by January 31st, they're already disconnected from the goal. They've already let go of the goal, and now they're just going through the motions. How do you stay connected? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? How do you keep that thing alive?
Okay, so a lot of you that don't know me, who never heard me, are going to think I'm a little crazy, but these are the things that I do. And here's the thing with everybody sets goals, and everybody has great ideas, and a lot of people come and says, what's the secret? Tell me the things that you do and what gets you the business and this and this. No problem, I'll tell you everything. Grab a pen, write down everything. I'm going to tell you the secret. The biggest problem is execution. And this is in any business, in every business, and people that I talk, successful people, clients, they own different business, technology business and everything, Everybody has a great idea of an app. I mean, raise your hand, who didn't ever thought about that would be a cool app? There you go. Everybody thinks that once, right? But now do it. The execution is where people drop the ball, and that's the tricky part, So for me, I need to find something that constantly engages me to be thinking about it, to be emotionally involved, So, I wake up early in the morning, 5:30, I meditate, I go to the gym, or I go on a run on the beach, and while I'm running, I repeat things, I repeat a goal, or I repeat the way I want to feel over and over again. And I repeat it out loud because I need to hear it, because there is a scientific reason why you want to hear you saying what you want. Your goal, whether it's a number, or the way you feel, or every day in every way, I'm feeling healthier, happier, and wealthier. Okay, I repeat that about 200 times in the treadmill, and people go away from me. They're like, let's go there. But I'm repeating it, I don't care, because that really gets me into it. So that's how I keep, because every day I'm doing that keeps reminding me that that's my goal, that's what I need to be. And I have an interesting story, actually, on a property that I just sold, which I cannot share who the buyer is. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably know already, but I cannot talk about it. But it was a super, super interesting process. I remember thinking about this individual as being the perfect buyer for this specific listing.
So you have a big listing, and you sit down and you think about who's going to buy this.
So it was a 20 plus,
and you put a name to.
Yeah, I mean, there was someone that I thought that it would be the perfect buyer for it.
Okay.
For something to happen, I knew that probably would be a very good chance that if they were to come and see the house, they would buy it, okay? But I don't know them. I mean, I know them. I don't know them. I don't know how to reach out to them and everything. And I just start obsessing with it. I'm thinking so much that one day I wake up and I'm like, I had a dream with this person last night. That's kind of weird. So I started to use that name of that individual. I'm going to sell the house to this person. And I started repeating and repeating and repeating that.
And I remember sitting in your office.
I tell you the whole process, and that's why I'm telling the story, because it's amazing that I actually was able, because if I just say it, people are going to be like, yeah, right? But Steve has gone through the whole process from me telling him I'm doing this and I'm obsessing with this and how everything happened. And it happened in a period of time for probably 3 or 4 months. It wasn't like a week thing, So one day I'm driving and I get a call from Griffin in my office. And he's like, hey, I left the property. And he's like, I'm closing the house. And this person walks in and says they want to see the house. And I'm like, what? But they need to make an appointment. He's like, no. it's so-and-so. I'm like, I'm on my way. So I turn around, I, run to the house, meet, give it the whole tour, and now it's happened, right? Now they've been on the property.
So the person you thought about actually
yes.
shows up.
Shows up. Like shows up, walks in the house without an agent.
Okay.
So, yeah, from that moment now we get into we like the house, let's look at it again, let's look at it again, and let's look at it again, but they're not really, putting the offer. And I have 2-3 other people that are interested and they're doing the same. So, we find a way to get them motivated, and they write an offer, and we go into escrow, and as you know, escrows are, complicated, So through the whole process of escrow and right about before removing contingencies.
You're on both sides, so it's even...
It's a super complicated deal because I'm dealing with managers and lawyers, and I'm the agent in both sides, so it's like, it's tricky to deal those, so you got to be careful. So I go to the beach one day at 6 in the morning, and I'm running, I'm doing my thing, and I'm like, they're going to remove contingencies tomorrow because the day was tomorrow, and it was very hairy. So I'm like, start screaming that on the beach, and I'm alone. I mean, maybe there's a couple homeless guys sleeping there. They're like, shut up, A
few seagulls. What's going on here?
And I see this huge pelican that is sitting in the thing, and I see like it's on the side of the bike path, and I'm running, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling it, and I start getting pissed on myself. It's like, you're not doing it right, I need to really feel it. So
you need to really feel what?
Feel like the emotion, like I'm gonna make it happen, no matter what. Okay. It's like it's something within you that when you want to do something, there is a shift, right? I mean, you're doing it. There is like, oh, I'm gonna do that, and there's like, I'm fucking doing that. So I'm running, and I see this pelican, beautiful, huge pelican in there, and as I'm running, I'm thinking he's gonna leave, but he's not moving there, So I scream like as loud as I could to this poor bird. I'm gonna remove contingencies tomorrow. Poor bird like flies for his life, and I continue to run. And by the time I'm back, I jump in the ocean normally, and it's 6 in the morning. The water is fucking cold, right? So I jump in the water, and it feels amazing. It's like this release of endorphins and everything. And I come out of the water feeling like $1,000,000, and I close my eyes, and I'm like, I know this is gonna happen. And the pelican comes flying really close to me, this close to the water, and it's just such a magical moment. I mean, to me, that was someone telling me, it's going to happen, you're cool, And I just felt that peace, and I go back to my office, and boom, they remove contingencies, which you were part of it that day. So, the same thing happened with the closing, We had a hiccup with a specific thing, and Mauricio knows too about this, and it was tough. It was a very tough situation. So I'm like, you know what? Where's to lose? I did it once, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna find that fucking bird. So I go Friday morning, again, the whole thing, I'm running, and I see the bird again. I don't know if it's the same or not. I do the exact same thing, go in the water, come out, flies again, and now I wanna cry, It's like, oh, this is so beautiful, I mean, you can manifest whatever you want. Go back to the office, you were there that day too. Coincidentally, you were all those days in there. That's fucking weird. He was the bird. That's a good one. And I go back to the office, we close escrow. So the point I want to make with this is like, I truly believe that you can create your own reality. I think we, as children of God or universe, or there is something more powerful than us out there that, I believe in. We have the ability to be creators too. You create your life, you create your universe, you create your path. And you can manifest that, And in order to do that, you need to be happy with yourself, The reason why I wake up in the morning, I do all these things is because I want to be happy. It's not like you just wake up happy, It's like you want to be. At a point in time you get used to it, and you are like that. Some people are like, why are you so happy all the time? It's like, I train myself to be happy all the time, So everybody can do it, You can create, you can achieve what you want. And the beauty of these worlds, I know we all have the same goals, We don't all want to sell the same amount. We don't all want the same car. So that's the beauty. There is contrast in there. Because if everything was the same, there's the law of the contrast, in the book, The Science of Getting Rich, that talks about that. It's got to be contrast, because imagine if we all like the same and we all dress the same, and it will be the boring, it will be super boring. So... Thank you.
That deal did not happen by accident.
No.
And you really had to thread a needle to make that happen. And there was a lot of, I'm sure, emotional up and downs going through that entire process.
Yes.
And you had to keep your focus, though, on what you wanted.
That's right.
And listening to that, what comes up for you?
Starting tomorrow, I'm going to be running on the beach. I'm going to be screaming at fucking birds.
Let's go.
No, you know, I think the most valuable thing that you said, too, to just finish it, is all that visualizing, which I do all that same stuff, what it really does more than anything, yes, I believe in the universe completely, but it also makes you show up as the best you. Because when in your mind, titties are removing tomorrow, I'm going to make this work, you show up as the guy that then puts out that energy. And people, I mean, in our business, everything just shifts on a dime. It's how you come off to that buyer. Do you look like you think they're paying too much? Do you look like they shouldn't remove contingencies? All the stuff he's talking about doing that I do, what it really does, it just makes the best you show up. I had a similar story where there was this Russian buyer, and he walked into an open house like 10 minutes after it was closed, and all I could think about was cooking dinner for my family and getting out of there. It was a quiet day anyway. But something in me said, I'm going to make something happen here. I feel it. So I threw out the one Russian word I know, spasiba, pожалуйста, and then he started talking. I didn't know anything else. So then he says, after about 15 minutes of walking around, couldn't really speak any English, didn't dress like somebody who'd be buying, expensive house in Bel Air. He says, oh, can I have a friend come from Valley? And I'm like, oh, that's going to be like 45 minutes. Yeah, of course, you bet. So we sat there trying to talk in our different languages, but there was a connection. His friend came. Long story short, he puts the offer in. We get to double-side it. But then he completely panics, and he's like, you don't have plans for the caissons. I don't trust the stability of this house. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just started going into a tailspin and his English got much better when he was talking about why he should pay less. He got really fluent. And I literally had this vision in my morning visions that I do. I had this vision that I was going to stand on the rooftop deck with this guy, look out over the reservoir in Bel Air, and just have him believe that he made the right choice. And that's exactly what happened. I brought him. I said, can you meet me at the house? I brought him up on the roof. I said, tell me how many houses you see out there across this, canyon. He's like, I don't know, hundreds. I said, they're all here. And they've been here for decades. I said, this house is brand new. Do you have any reason to believe this house is, going to have a problem? Okay, done, But I think all that stuff, and I think to go a couple steps back too, it's the first thing you have to do is be crystal clear on what's non-negotiable for you and what you want in your life. Because if I leave this couch, after wanting to kill myself listening to his goals, if I leave this couch trying to be Santiago, it's a fail. That's the biggest mistake you can make. The first thing you have to do is say, what are your non-negotiables? And have them fully in your mind. For me, it's non-negotiable that I'm going to make sure my wife feels loved and appreciated. It's non-negotiable that I'm the walking, living example for my kids. It's non-negotiable that I'm learning something new, seeing a new country every year. So once I'm done with all the non-negotiables, then I say, all right, now how much time is left to make money? Because if you don't have the non-negotiables defined, they're going to not happen. But when you know that you only have this much time left in a week now to do the rest, you get very clear on what it takes to make that happen. And for me, it's like a lot of you know I love to cook, right? So I've never cooked an amazing meal. The other night we had 14 people over for my beautiful wife's birthday. She just turned 35. And I always, before making a huge dinner party, I've tasted it before I ever touch the first pan. I visualize exactly what the color of that pork roast is going to be as it's roasting, how I'm going to toast the chestnuts, then the apricots go in, the sage gets crispy. I've tasted it before I've ever touched the first pan. And that's how I think your goal should be and your life should be. If your plan, if you can't taste it, visualize it, and fully believe that that's where you're going to be at the end of the year, then don't even get out the piece of paper. Don't even open up your spreadsheet and pretend to make a plan, because it's a plan that won't happen. You first have to fully believe it's going to happen. Then you can do the mechanics.
How do you get yourself into that? How do you know that? How do you have that wisdom?
I don't think I think it's just because, like I said, way back from the first goal in college to everything I've done in my life, I've just done it that way, and it always seems to work. So I believe in it, and I love all these books, The Secret, all these things. There's a reason they all have a common thread. It works. If you put it out there, if you put that energy out there and you fully buy into it and believe it, it just comes to fruition. I was just sitting on my couch with my wife one day and said, I'm going to be on the Food Network next year. out of nowhere. But then I spent every morning in my meditations picturing standing next to Bobby Flay, him being like, "What'd you put in that? That's amazing." Really believing that was going to happen. I had no reason to believe that, but I just so deeply put it in my head, and then it happened. So it's really experience.
So did you have a moment when you were standing next to him that, oh my God, this actually happened?
Surreal, just like your moment with the bird. It's like you have these moments in life where you literally leave your body. You're like, this is
happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like a one-time event. I mean, for me, it happens all the time. A different,
version.
Different version and different intensities, but it happens all the time. I mean, the brain has evolved so much. I mean, from hundreds of years ago, it's almost double the size of its mass, right? And the part that is developed the more is in the front over here, and that portion is the one that gives us as humans the ability that no other being has to feel and visualize and see things before they happen, okay? So if we have that, why wouldn't we use it, It's as simple as that.
Think and Grow Rich is a book that you spend a lot of time with, your Bible. Talk about that book.
I mean, the title is Think and Grow Rich, and most people think like, okay, it's all about money, but it's really not. The book is an unbelievable book that I probably read it like 25 times now, and every time I read it, I find something new. And the reason why I find something new is the book doesn't change. It's still my same book. I need to buy another one probably. It's all teared apart. But you change. You're not the same. So this year you're prepared for one part of that book and one message, and the next year there'll be something else in there that's going to pop and it's going to get your attention that you didn't really get the first time. And that's why I think that book is unbelievable. And I mean, one of the greatest things about this book is you got to understand that Napoleon Hill spent 25 years of his life, living and studying the most successful people back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Would happen to be a lot of characters like Henry Ford, Rockefellers, Carnegie. I mean, we're talking about Edison, huge minds, So he studied them, what they eat, what time they wake up, what do they do, what they have in common, what not. And he's condensed all this information of 25 years in one freaking book. Why would not read that book, It's a genius book.
And like you said, every time you read it, you see something new, something hits you in a different way, or you gain a deeper understanding of what's in that book.
Yes.
Any book that stands out for you?
I've read that one 3 times. It's got a torn cover. I love it.
You like The Power Now?
Power Now is my Bible. There's not a morning I don't read my highlighted. That's why I love the iPad now, too, because you can have your 50 books there, have them all highlighted, and I go back and read the highlights as a way to stay engaged. And it's funny, just like you said, like sometimes I'll be like getting totally entranced in something between the highlights because, like you said, I've changed. So what I highlighted before is different now. But yeah, it's so powerful because, again, like you said, with happiness, with success, it doesn't happen by accident. You have to have a plan and be in that moment every day and all the time to have it come to fruition. It won't happen by accident, but it has to come from you really wanting it and believing it. If you're the guy or the girl that absolutely wants to punch in from 9 to 5, buy every video game that's ever released, watch every show on TV, and get up and do it over again, if you're really happy and loving that life, congratulations. I think the key is just to make sure you're doing the life you love and that's why I love business plans, because if you have a plan and you buy into it and believe it, then I don't care what the market's doing. My market will always be great. I don't have to think about the market. I don't think about the competition. I don't think about anything because my vision, my plan is my life and nothing can stop me. If you don't have a plan, every little sparkly thing will grab your attention. Every little comment somebody makes being negative. Whenever somebody says negative, I go out of my way, and my kids and wife hate me for this a lot of times, to say the opposite thing in a positive way. Because I really believe you can get on that misery train and it goes to a bad place, or you can get on the joy train and woo! And even if it doesn't happen, I'd rather have my hands in the air yelling and still hit the wall versus plan on hitting the wall for 20 miles. And that makes a difference. And you bring that joy to your clients. That's why some people can get it done. And the most important part, too, is you're not just doing more. If you want to be more successful, your goal is not to do as much as him because you're going to, by knocking on 1,000 more doors. get better at what you do. Don't just do more bad stuff. If you do more bad stuff, you just get really excellent at being bad. You need to make sure you're being better at what you're doing every day and every year so that your conversion rate goes up. You can't do the kind of sales you're doing if he's not excellent and compounding his skills. There isn't physically enough time in the day to do it by muscling it. So I think that's an important thing to remember too.
So you mentioned earlier your goals are part of the bigger journey. So kind of walk us through your process around goals and business planning specifically.
Yeah, so it's define it, like I just said. It's absolutely decide on your non-negotiables and make them the first thing that go on your plan. Personal and professional.
Define non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables, having the quality time with my family. Non-negotiables, always being in shape. Never looking in the mirror when I get out of the shower in the morning and going, oh, God, well, it's okay because I'm 40 or I'm 50. No, non-negotiable. Learning something new, going to a new country every year, learning a new language, getting better, all these different things. And then I put them into the schedule as you've taught us and block it out. So now I already see how much of my day is left. But most people will do that stuff if there's time left over. And that's the backwards way to do it. Right. You got to schedule it, believe it. And you have to know, by the way. I always tell people, Steve's been saying this for 20 years. Why do realtors work 7 days?
Because it don't work.
Right. The work will expand into the time you give it. So first, define it, know your non-negotiables, and be able to taste it. Like I said, just like I've tasted that meal before I ever touch a pan, taste your success, feel it, believe it, see it, know that it is going to happen. Then it's time for the piece of paper. Then you're going to put it down on paper, as you've taught us for years. How many deals do you have to do times what your commission is? How many are buyers, how many are sellers? And then it just becomes math. And that's what I love, because math is not an opinion is one of my other favorite quotes. If that's the math, that's the math. When I had restaurants, I'd have managers going on and on about why. It's like, no, that's the math.
Stealing that line.
This is how much we bought. This is how much is left. That's the reality. The rest is a story. Math does not lie. So then I see the math, and I go, wow, that's really doable. Then that's great that you believe in it. That's great you got the math. That's great you've written it down. But now, how are you going to bring it to life? Because all that excitement in the world will just die and fall flat if you don't have an actual action plan. So then that's where, just like you said, Santiago, it's like, all right, I'm going to schedule my door knocking. I'm going to schedule my calls. When am I going to do it? Okay, great. So now I have a vision. I've defined it. I've written it down. I have my plan. But now, how am I going to make sure I'm doing it? I call that retasting it. You got to get back in touch with it. So I have 2 sheets. One says the big 4. And every Monday morning, I have the date, and I put how many escrows open, how many escrows closed, how many listing appointments, how many buyer showings. So those are the big 4 that are going to drive my business. And then I have a sheet called Momentum, and that's right out of the book you introduced us to the beginning of last year, The Compound Effect.
Okay.
That's a good book.
Yeah, and I love it because it drills it down even deeper. So you have to go really big, and then you have to go really narrow. You have to go really broad, and then you have to go really deep. And most people do maybe 1, sometimes none. But if you do only 1 but not 2, you're missing out. You can't just be like a big vision guy. Woo! Tesla didn't just go, hey, electricity, and then, goes to bed. No, then you got to put it into a plan, So, and then the momentum sheet, it literally is on there. Did I meditate? Did I read my book? Did I work out? And I have to check it off. The date of the week, each item, Monday through Sunday, and I check it off. And then open house, because I promise to do an open house every Sunday, so that has a check mark only on Sunday, obviously. And then there it is. And then, as a team, Nadia and I, who's amazing, our assistant Marissa, who we adore, every week we sit down, and then I have another spreadsheet called 2018 Income, and it's like, where are we to date? And it's all broken down. How many deals will we do from door knocking? How many deals will we do from open houses? How many deals will we do from head knocking, we call it, connectors, business managers? And it's amazing, too, how I said, okay, we're going to do 13% of our business from, head knocking. It was like 12.5. It's no surprise.
You're a big believer in the concept, what gets measured gets done.
Exactly.
Stole that from you a long time ago. So you're measuring everything. Why?
Because I fail constantly. And if you don't measure it to catch yourself, it'll be the end of the year, and you'll be like, whoa, I'm kind of off on my goals. Where's my goals? What was my plan? And you're lost. By looking at it weekly, daily, and Marissa and Nadia don't realize this, but the main reason I want us to all sit down and go over these numbers every week is so I have to be accountable out loud. I want to hear my own voice say, all right, we're at 38 deal, we did. And it's, if you don't keep in check with that, you don't get it.
And that's why I love when I do the 8 a.m. call, and I've shared this with all of you. I love between 8 a.m. and 8:03 when I read through roll call every day, how many contacts everyone made. Because that's the moment of truth every day. And most of the people get on the call after 8:03 because they don't want to hear that, A, they didn't make the contacts or their name wasn't called. And the reason why people don't measure something, because they know they're not doing it. And now they don't want to look at it as somehow that makes it better. It doesn't.
Right. I've always said you have two choices. You're going to have pain either way. You have pain
of success or pain of failure.
Yeah, you're going to have the pain of this morning. I'm jacked up on Sudafed right now. I've got the worst cold. We had our holiday party the other night. I woke up at 5 o'clock like I always do, pitch dark, and I was like, oh, man, I just want to spoon my wife and go back to sleep. You know, but I'm like, nope, I'm doing it. Because the pain of not going to the gym, the pain of not doing my meditation or my reading is more painful to me than the pain of getting up and dealing with it. So I think you have to ask yourself, and that pain will be greater for you as well if you've seen the vision and bought into what your year is going to look like. Then that becomes, and just like you, every morning I read my why, and every night I read what's called I am, and then I have a whole list of what I am. And those things just keep me on track. This is a process. I mean, you can't, if you're not honing daily. But then the funny part is, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in a big way, once you've done all this, then to a large extent, let it go and just be. Because kind of like dialogue, if you're somebody who just reads the cards, what do you mean 6% is too much? You know, yeah, the dialogue's not going to work. But if you internalize that shit and you believe it to your core, you know, because I'm worth it, you know, that's a different thing. And the business plan's the same thing. I think if you've internalized it so deeply and see it so clearly, then you don't have to micromanage it because it will come to life. I mean, there has been times, again, I fail often. We didn't go over our numbers for a couple weeks. I didn't look at it like I was supposed to. But because I'm so bought in, it all magically happened, you know, anyway.
Comments?
Yeah, you know, you start your day and you have your goals and you go all fired up and you need to get to a point where at the end of the day, you're driving home, you need to release it. You need to be like, I did 100% of what I needed to do. There's no more that I could have done. And then just feel good about it and release that good feeling and go have dinner, go to bed, or whatever it is that you do at night. But the reality is that we all know when we're driving home that we didn't do 100%. And you're telling yourself, oh, I did good today, I did 100%. But you really know the truth in the back of your head that, you know what, I couldn't make that extra phone call. I couldn't go to that extra house. I should have done this. And if you go thinking that way, what happens is that gets, you know, print in your subconscious mind. And that's a problem. Because then when you go to bed, your subconscious mind goes to work. And that's the message you're sending out there. And when you're sending a message that is not enough, that you didn't finish, that you didn't do 100%, that you didn't do good, that goes out there and that comes back to you. And then you wake up the next day and you feel like shit. So you need to finish your day and say, you know what, I did everything I could have done today. There's nothing else I can do. Now I'm going to turn off my phone, I'm going to go with my family, I'm going to have a great dinner, I'm going to go to bed. If you feel that way, then your subconscious mind says, achievement, done, we did good. You send that out there. When you wake up the next day, magically you're going to be in a better mood, you're going to feel better, things are going to come up, you're going to get that phone call, you're going to get that email. So you need to play with your feelings. It's all about the way how you feel. You need to emotionalize all your goals and everything that happens to you because that's really what makes it work. Make sense?
What I love about both of you enjoy life. You actually enjoy
life. Was meant to be enjoyed. I mean,
well, I see a lot of people struggling.
But it's a choice. Life. You know, there is a choice. I was reading something recently, actually. It talks about the happiness as a choice. There is a book about it also. When you wake up in the morning, you know, the reason why I always say that, and everybody says, and we know that you need to be grateful about some things. Okay, start by saying three things. Okay, wake up in the morning. I'm sure that all of you can be grateful for three things. It can be, thank you because I'm awake, thank you because I can see, thank you because I can get up out of bed and I feel healthy, because I have a healthy wife, husband, children, I have food in my refrigerator. I mean, how many are there right there? 10, you know? So, I mean, you gotta find three and really feel grateful about it, because when you feel in that way, if you feel grateful, you cannot be in fear. Fear is the worst thing, you know? Humans are addicted to fear. And the reason why we're addicted to fear is because we were conditioned for survival. You know, we need to survive. I mean, everything that happens or anything, we're trying to figure out how we're going to survive out of this one. So we are in fear. We're like in defense mode. If you switch that to being grateful, then you cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time. That's not work. Try it, test it. You can't. And if you're trying and you say, yeah, but I'm still fearful, then you're not doing it right. Okay? So if you wake up that way and you're grateful and you meditate and you have your goals and you mix that with exercise, there has to be an exercise in there because there is a movement in your body's energy. You have cells that are full of energy, and if you move and you have action, that gets things going, you know? So if you get going and you meditate and you're grateful, you release dopamine, okay? Dopamine is a substance in your brain that you release when you're happy, and when you release that, it makes you smarter. Believe it or not, there's a study that makes you smarter. It gives you more energy. It puts you in a better mood. People are attracted to be doing business with you. So when you're feeling that way and you go and open a door and you're the next person that person is meeting for giving the listing, they're going to pick up on that. And they're going to want to do business with you. They're not going to know why, but I really like this guy. It's because of that. So you can create that. We all have it. So you need to start working on that and getting out there because these are scientific proofs that these things work, you know?
Well said. And just to be clear with everyone, dope is not short for dopamine.
No.
That won't do the same thing for you, I promise.
What was the biggest lesson learned this year for you?
The biggest lesson learned this year for me, oh man, there's a lot of them. You know, one of the beautiful things is that, you know, there's no losing. You know, I think that whether you achieve or you win something or you don't, you always win because you always learn about something. So I almost find it now interesting failing because okay, now I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to become better, you know. This year was an amazing year. I didn't have one big thing. I have a lot of little ones. For a moment, what I was telling you, for example, about that deal, I kind of lost my faith a little bit. I got a little nervous. I was getting a lot of pressure from a lot of people, and I felt that it might not happen. And I doubted myself. And when I went through the bird thing a couple of times, I felt like, you know this shit. I mean, this works. I mean, you know this. Why were you doubting? You know, it's like, don't doubt. So but it's training, you know, because we're conditioned to doubt. We're conditioned to go in this direction, you know. Humans, like, every time we all know when to make the right decision and when to make the wrong decision. And the reason why most of the times we make the wrong decision and the wrong choices is because making the right decision is so fucking hard, right? But it's just the way it goes. So for me, I mean, I think the lesson is just having more faith on myself, having more faith on everything that I believe in. I doubted for a second. It wasn't a long time. It was just a second that I doubted and I got scared. And how did I fought that? It was by generating action, going run on the beach, run hard, okay, getting that, you know, stress out, and then screaming to a bird. I mean, all these things are, you know, a way to show out there that, you know what, I'm doubting, but I don't want to doubt anymore. I'm going to go and fix it, and I'm going to fix it doing this way. And it can be any way. You know, you need to find what works for you. Everybody doesn't enjoy running on the beach and screaming at birds. So you need to find what gets you going, what gets you to, you know, you need to shift that feeling. So what I learned is I'm going to do it quicker next time.
What I saw this year with you is your ability to manifest. And what I want for you is to really lean into that. You did it several times this year where you had a conscious thought and you brought it into being.
Yeah, I need to do it more. This has come down to me like a science. It works perfectly. Why I'm not doing more of it? That you're right. You know, it's like, what is it that I'm not? It's like if you go to Vegas and someone gives you the secret number to win and you won already, and they give it to you and you know you have the number. Why wouldn't go again, right? It's kind of like a funny analogy, but it works. I know it works. I proved it many times. You're being a witness of it, so it's just doing it more, you know.
Any lessons this year that you'll take with you into the new year?
First lesson is I definitely limited myself last year. I mean, we doubled our business, but it was still very limiting because I'm so focused on my non-negotiables, my quality of life, the balance, the things I want to do personally, that I know that I limited what I could do business-wise because I thought that something was going to have to be sacrificed. And when I look back at last year, I mean, we went to 6 different countries. We had trips with our kids. We had trips alone. We lived a great life, and I still was home by 3 o'clock a lot of days. I know, and we've made that our plan this year to do 50% more again this year. So for me, especially sitting next to this guy, I realized, like, I've definitely limited myself, and that's why we've got a bigger plan this year, for sure. The other big lesson in 2017...
Hold on.
Yeah.
If he can do it...
I have to do it.
Anyone.
You know that, man.
Anyone can do it.
And by the way, one thing about this guy, too, how many of you have walked into his open houses? Well, you need to go if you haven't, because what I really love about you, and I mean this guy is at every open house I've ever been to. Big smile, welcoming attitude. It's the thing that so many people lose sight of. He never forgets that it is about that moment and that hospitality and that energy. I mean, you're not above it. You live it. You walk it.
Thank you.
And I think that's
Just
huge.
remind him to get everybody to sign into the open house.
Yeah, never. No sign-ins. But what was the other question?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, it's true.
This year, you started to mention it. Anything you're going to focus on specifically in 2018?
Yeah, Chris Voss. I am going to master. How many of you are familiar with the Chris Voss program Steve did? Power.
Amazing.
Power. And you know what's incredible about it? It ties into so much of the stuff we read and we love anyway. I'm going to master that stuff. That is my only personal definite goal on top of the other ones I already had that's new, is I'm going to master that stuff this year. And that alone
That's
will probably...
black belt right there.
Oh, second, third degree.
Martial arts, man.
That will probably double my business by itself.
Right.
Like, I am really looking forward to that.
Santiago, anything that you're going to focus on specifically in 2018?
Sure. Before I do that, though, I want to just to point out my parents are here visiting from Bolivia. So they're right
Did
there.
a good job.
So every time you talk about martial arts, you know, my dad was a big martial artist. He opened all the martial arts schools in Bolivia.
Oh, wow.
So he's pretty badass. So every time you talk about it, it's great, you know.
Yeah.
You know, this year for me is going to be a big year. I mean, obviously, the goal is gonna continue to be the 500
million. There you go.
The 500 million. This year is going to happen. Is there? You know, the other goals that we have, you know, company-wide as an owner of a company, we're going to bring the agency to 3 different markets, 3 different cities. So that's a goal. We're working on that. And for me, the most important ones also are the personal, like you said, because it all comes from within, you know. What's the most important thing? You know, that you're healthy, that you have your wife and your children healthy, that you take care of them. I mean, that's to me the propeller and the energy that gets you to go out there. For me, if there is something, I had an argument with my wife for some reason, which, you know, very rarely happens, and I go out there, I'm not 100%. For me to be 100%, I need to wake up, I need to do certain things. My meditation, I need to see my kids, I need to have breakfast with them, ideally take them to school, connect with my wife for a little bit, you know, the exercise, the whole thing, and then I jump in the shower, I'm ready to go and kill it, okay? But if something is just not go well, it affects my day, and I go out there, and I'm not 100%. If Santiago is not 100%, he cannot show up into a $20 million listing appointment. It doesn't work well, you know? So it's continue. And we know when you say what are your new goals, it doesn't have to be new. And you know, things are working out, things are good. You need to set up and tweak a little bit like you said, but it's like continue to do it, okay? Because a lot of people do it one year, they do great, and the next year they stop doing it. And it's so common. It's like, why did you stop doing it? Why did you stop taking care of yourself? Why did you stop this? Why did you stop that? Everything was working fine. So it's a big, actually, challenge to be able to continue to do it. Because in this business, people think, okay, I had a great year, I sold 200 million, I'm amazing. All right, now do it again next year, and I'll do it again next year, and do it again next year. Having the ability to have many consistent good years where you're selling millions of millions is a big challenge, okay? There are not many agents in this city that can continuously have the hundreds of millions of sales year after year after year. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint race. And I see life the same way. you know, with your family, with your life, with your health. You know, it's a constant work. You cannot expect immediate results. It doesn't work like that. And everything that has immediate result usually turns around really quick in the opposite direction.
When you sit and listen to Santiago, what comes up for you?
Well, it's just energizing because it's, you know, everything I believe, everything I do, but clearly I've got the little boy pants on. I got to get the big boy pants on because clearly it all works, you know, and I'm totally in sync. But I think what the message it sends me is that you have to pick the number you want to pick, because the reality is it always seems to come to fruition. So why not pick the bigger number, you know, unless there's a reason that's not giving you the life you want to lead, you know.
And that's a strategy too. Like if I can like talk to you directly, is if you want to get a big number, you know, there's so many $1 million, $2 million house you can sell to get there. I mean, it will be like you have to build a big team, right? So then you need to start thinking about, okay, maybe I should up my numbers, right? And I think that's something that you can do. It's like,
absolutely.
Okay, maybe we should focus on like higher range of price range, and start going after those, you know, and that's going to get you to that next, because it's really in numbers, you know. I mean, to get to those numbers, you need to sell the big chunky deals, right?
Right.
I mean, continue to do what you're doing, but it's jumping to that next level and starting to become comfortable with that level, and then you go to the next one, and then it just, by inertia, it just happens, you know?
Absolutely. Thank you.
When you listen to Jeffrey, what comes up for you?
He's amazing. I love this guy. I mean, you have such an amazing energy. He's same thing, you know? I mean, he's always a smile on his face. You just can feel this energy, you know? I mean, I don't know if you guys pick up on that, but you can feel good energy on people, you know? It's something that you feel and you just want to hang out. You know, I want to hang out with this guy. I want to go grab drinks with this guy. I want to go scream at birds with this guy. You know, he's great. He's a good father. He's a good husband. He's a good guy, you know. I mean, he's an incredible individual and he's killing it. And I'm just happy to be sitting in the same chair with him.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
All right, let me open it up. Questions for either Santiago or Jeffrey or both? Anyone? Yeah, stand up. Your name?
I'm Sebastian.
Sebastian.
I work at Compass.
Okay.
And I heard you guys both discuss meditating in the morning, and something I've been like looking towards doing myself. I already do the exercise part in the morning, but I don't do any of the meditation. How does meditation work? How does one get started in meditation?
Talk about your...
Let's do this. Here's how it works. Everybody right now, we're going to do a 60-second meditation. All right, who's in? Everybody in? Raise your hand. This will change your freaking life. I'm reading.
I was going to say, there's amazing apps for it.
Right. I'm reading Ray Dalio's book called Principles. The guy's a gazillion billionaire, you know, built the Bridgewater, if any of you don't know.
Ridiculous.
But it was amazing how much of his book, he talks about the power of meditation and the power of building a culture in his company. And here's a guy who you think he would just be a number cruncher.
With Tony Robbins.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set it for a minute. Because like everything in life, start with baby steps. You know, my favorite saying is, you want to lose weight? Eat your cake on the treadmill. That's your first step. Then take one step while eating your cake. Then the next day, set your cake down and take 3 steps. Don't try to change the world overnight. It's too overwhelming and you will be depressed and you'll give up. Same thing with meditation. The first time I started, I'm like, I'm doing 30 minutes. I'm going to float to the fucking ceiling, you know. It's so discouraging if you try to do that.
Yeah.
So we're going to do 60 seconds. Feet flat on the floor. Hands, palms up, and again, I'm sure he has a different way. There's a million ways to do it. You got to find the one that works for you. I'm going to give you the most basic one. Hands up. We're going to shut our eyes, and I say go. What you're going to do is start with your toes and feel the energy coming up through your body while you focus on your breath. If you just focus on your breath, you'll have the best chance of not getting a bunch of random thoughts. And believe me, with a 20-minute meditation, at least 5 minutes of it is, I hope that bird was right because I got to close this deal. I mean, you can't help but to wander, but if you're focused on your breath, you'll wander less, all right? So focus on your breath, start with your toes, feel the energy coming up through your body, and over again. You want to add to that before we?
Yes. Okay. If you really want to do this, let's take it to another level, okay? Get up. All right? Okay, so now we're all going to jump 10 times with the hands up, okay? Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Deep breath. Now you can take over.
All right. There we go. So focus on your breath, eyes closed. Try not to think about anything else. Picture like a mouse hole in your mind, and you're the watcher of your own thoughts, and you're not going to let any thoughts come out of that mouse hole. Focus on your breath. We're just going to do 60 simple seconds. Ready, eyes shut, go. Well done. That wasn't bad, was it?
No.
You'll be amazed, right, Santiago? Once you get going on this stuff, you will, it won't let you stop. Once you get going on this stuff, 20 minutes will go by like 60 seconds. And even me, who's a little wired, I come out of it so peaceful, right? You come out of it with clarity. And sometimes you even make a good decision or get a good idea, even though you're not sitting there stewing or thinking. Somehow it just kind of cleanses the brain and gets you going.
There's lots of different apps. One that I recommend is called Headspace. And it's a guided meditation. Starts with 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes? Every day, 10 minutes. And from there, you can go up to 20 minutes if you want. You go on your own. Meditation is something I want to talk about today. It is critical. Meditation is how you connect to you. How you connect to you. So many of you, how many of you struggle with, why am I here? What is my purpose? Anyone? Most of you. Meditation will help you with that. It will get you connected to you. It is super important. You have 10 minutes.
Yes.
You can download a free app.
Headspace.
You're done. Okay, so does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions for Santiago or Jeffrey? Your name?
Kenny. My question is, how much do you guys sleep each night?
Hours of sleep.
I really need probably 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep only.
When do you go to bed?
I go to bed 11, 11:30, wake up at 5:30.
Okay.
When I had my restaurants, up until I was about 35 even, I would sleep 3.5, 4 hours a night. And we lived in a high-rise when my wife and I were opening our second restaurant in San Francisco. I would do push-ups in waiting for the elevator. I mean, it was nuts. I didn't know what to do with the energy. Now, if I don't get 7 hours, forget it. Like, I'm 10 to 5, and I always got to get up early. So if I go to bed later, I end up just getting a little less sleep. But 7 is perfect for me now. And I think, again, this is one of those things where just listen to your body. Yep. Because if you're spending the day like, yeah, I'm like Santiago, I got up at 5, and you're like, you know, you're not doing your clients. Oh, what did you say? Commission? Yeah, whatever you want it to be. You know, so listen, if you can feel good, yeah, then do it. Less, more. The key is you just want your engines at 100%. Mm-hmm. It's not how much you work or how little you sleep. It's how excellent you are when you're present.
You have an opinion, though, on getting up early.
Yeah, one of my other favorite sayings is there's two kinds of successful people, and I think Napoleon Hill even talks about this. Those that get up at 5 and those that set their alarm for 5. Either way, you're forcing yourself. You are up early, you know, and there's something magical about the momentum created by that early morning process.
There's a lot of books and everything that explain why successful people wake up early in the morning, okay? When you wake up early in the morning, you already feel you're ahead of the game, okay? You are awake. You have that extra time first for yourself, the meditation. If you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, then get a life. You know, you have to have 10 minutes for yourself. So you need to give yourself that time where nobody's talking to you, the phone's not going to ring at that time, it's just you, and that's the time where you really get to know yourself, you get to know your higher self and what you really want and what, you know, so you need to have that time. That time makes you powerful, and on top of that, you are ahead of the game. And that feeling of getting out of the gym, for me, at 6:30 in the morning or 6:45, driving. I know that most people are not awake, and a lot of people just waking up. I'm already making phone calls. I already make 2 phone calls. I get home. I'm ahead of the game, and that feeling of being ahead is a good feeling to have. And if you can keep good feelings constantly, it gets you in a vibration that you can always be going up and up and up and up. So, but listen to your body. I mean, a lot of people need more sleep, okay? I'm not saying that everybody should do the same thing because, like he says, that you're going to deprive yourself and it's not going to be good for you. So you all know your bodies. You all know how much sleep you need. If you need 8 hours of sleep, you have to sleep 8 hours because if you don't sleep those 8 hours, that's not you, Now, do you really need them? That you need to be honest to yourself, okay? Nobody's gonna tell you, point a finger or anything. If you're not honest with yourself and you cheat with yourself, don't expect progress, don't expect for things to change. You have to be 100% honest with yourself. You need to be your biggest judge. I always tell my agents and people, I'm like, you're your business, okay? Real estate agents, they all run their own business, right? So would you hire yourself as your CEO? Yes or no? The truth.
And I think also the only opportunity maybe for less sleep is why you sleeping so much, right? Like if it's because you had 6 cocktails and smoked 2 joints, well then yeah, you probably could sleep less, and be more productive in the morning. So the only thing to ask yourself, or are you sleeping more because you just don't want to face what you got to do that day? There's all kinds of reasons people sleep. So you got to figure out, just be honest with yourself about, is there an opportunity there, or is that just who I am? I need X hours,
Okay. Ryan, you had a question?
Yes. I
recommend a book they haven't read?
Yeah, what they want to read.
What do you want to read,
right
Jeffrey?
Now,
go ahead.
My dad actually just came back. He bought a book in the airport, Daddy Free, and he recommended it to me, and I just downloaded it. And I do audiobooks, and you guys know that I do audiobooks because I can read. It puts me to sleep. I'm ADD, I'm OCD, and all the other 3-letter sicknesses that are out there. John Maxwell is just has an amazing book that is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Okay, my dad just recommended it to me. I just bought it. I'm doing it when I'm when I'm in the gym, when I'm exercising. I'm killing. I don't like dead time. I don't like waste of time. If I'm working out and I need to hear music to get pumped up, I'll hear music. But if I'm already in a place where I can learn something else, I'm listening to a book at a 1.75 speed, okay, where it goes really fast, you cover faster, and then you're learning, you're working out, you're doing 2 things at the same time. So that's my next book.
Okay.
I'm reading Principles right now by Ray Dalio. I'm on like page 190 of 900, so I highly recommend that. I'm loving it. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is next on my dock here. Same thing, I'm all about the iPad and iBooks, I love it. And then The Power of Moments, that's a must. I've got that next up. Yeah.
And then Think and Grow Rich, I'm going to read it again for 27th time. So that's one that I read, but I'm still going to read again. So I highly recommend that book. And then Relentless is a book that Steve recommended to me that is incredible. Do you read that?
Yep, love it.
Yeah, that's a very good book. Sorry, what company are you with? Compass. Oh.
Speak about what?
The team dynamic, people behind you, the people you work with, and how that's led to your success.
You know?
Well, I've got a strong opinion about teams, so you got to take it or leave it and, not hate me either way. At one point, Nadia and I had, dozens of restaurants, 400 employees, 30 managers, district managers. So I love leadership. I thrive on leadership and being a leader and building a team. But in real estate, I think you have to be very clear about why you're on a team or creating a team. Because just like my restaurants, you make a crap load of money on restaurants 1 and 2 and 3, and then you make no money oftentimes while you're growing number 4, 5, 6, 7. The building phase is where you say bye-bye to profits usually because it's going back into the big picture. So if
you are so correct.
Yeah, there's a
you
tipping.
You are so correct.
Yeah. There's a tipping point.
What's happening with teams is you either got to be small or really big, and you have to be willing to go through a lot of pain to get really big.
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why I haven't built a team yet.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I'm going to do something, I like to do it 100%. So if I'm going to build a team, I'm going to build the biggest, most badass team it's ever been built, okay? And I probably will get to $1 billion in sales, right? But then I have to deal with a lot of stuff, and it might jeopardize, I need to train people, I need to spend time doing that. So I chose not to. So I don't have a team. And the way how we actually work at the agency, we all are a team. We all helping each other. We all like grabbing one or another person to help us on an individual basis, or you just do a deal by deal basis. So that combination of being in that company and the way how we work, it's just kept me not building things. So it's just me. And it's worked well, and I'm cool with it because of that reason, because you have to, yeah.
And it works.
So it's you and Nadia. Do you guys have an assistant?
Yeah, we have Marissa, our executive assistant. She's been with us for over a year now. She's amazing. So it's the three of us. And
Three of us, same thing. You,
Yep.
Laura, and Griffin.
Griffin.
He's got 3 people.
And I always joke, but I mean it. My goal is to do 20% less business than most agents and make 30% more, because it's about the commissions and about the focus.
Exactly.
It's a lot of people end up doing a lot of volume just to be half as good as we are, or when I say we, I mean anybody who's producing on their own. So I think my only advice for teams are, if you're on a team, why? Have a clear reason why. Because if you're just there because you think it'll be easier and not as painful as being on your own, it's probably a mistake. If you're there because you really want to contribute to the culture and be part of something great and be there for the long haul and build it and everybody wins, then great. If you're the team leader, like Ari Afshar at Compass, I love the guy. He's a great human being, but he thrives on the idea of putting together a team and being a leader. That gives him reward. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to deal with people, like my old partner, this Italian guy, I love him. He's a genius. But when we first met and I was in charge of HR and training, his version of training was, "Are you stupid?" I'm like, let's pull back. Not motivating. Not gonna build a team. Not gonna make that person feel good. But yeah, they are stupid. You're right. But that's not. You don't say that to them. So you've got to be somebody who actually wants to build a team and is a good leader. If you got a team of 20 because you want them to make you money while you do your own agent stuff, then you've missed the whole point of creating a team, in my opinion.
Yeah. Does that address your question?
Yes, please.
It's me and a partner, and we're looking for an assistant.
Okay.
So maybe when we say team, a smaller team.
All right.
So what is that dynamic, and how does it work?
Like,
Be a little more
find the right
specific.
person,
Be a
or-
little more specific.
Just observations on personalities, how you mesh together, what they do for you, how they support.
All right. So is there anything you're looking for with the people that work with you?
For sure. I'm expecting that they work as hard as me. I expect that obviously it has to be a personality, correlation in there, because if not, this is a people's business. If you don't have anything in common, then it's not going to go well probably. So you need to find someone that you relate to it, that personality-wise you're going to be able to communicate easily. And then you want to make sure that it's someone that is motivated. And there's different ways how to motivate people. Obviously, money is one of them, salaries. But you want to make it part of your culture. You want to make it involved. You want them to care about your business. It's not just an employee. You want that person to be involved and care about what you're doing because they're part of it. So they're proud of being part of that.
Jeffrey?
Well, yeah, I think, again, just back to my restaurant days, clear goals. First, like he said, without a doubt, it has to be a personality fit. I would know in the first 10 seconds if I was going to hire somebody. I'd usually put a pencil on the table and let it roll off. And if they didn't pick it up, I wouldn't hire them. Because that means they don't have a natural desire to be of service. There'd be people that look at it and be look back and be like, well, you going to pick that up or what? And then there'd be other people that'd be like, oh my God, here you go.
The pencil test. You heard it here.
Test. But you got it. Don't wait to figure out how they're really going to be. You're going to know in the first 30 seconds. Trust your gut. Gut's something that's forged from years of being a human being, being a professional. Trust your gut. Once it's a fit and you like them, then you have to have clear goals for them. You have to know what you're doing and what you expect them to do so there's no confusion. And then, everyone can forge ahead. Our team's very clear. I do what Nadia tells me to. No, but we have a great system. We both do listings together. We both work with buyers together. But she handles all the marketing and works with Marissa on that. I handle all the prospecting. So clearly defined goals that everyone can be accountable for. So you're not just kind of swirly. And you have to say to your partner and your assistant, how are you going to make us better? Why are we better with you versus not? Because if you don't clearly see why you're going to be better, then it's a bad decision to begin with. But as Steve always said, if you don't have an assistant, you are one.
major key things you did in your first year to catapult yourself to where you guys are today?
All right, year one, Santiago, looking back, what were some of the key things that you did that have moved you forward?
Year one was not a good year for me. I sold one condo for $495,000. I did double-ended it, but that was my wholesale, and I was not doing the things right. Okay, year two was the year where I realized that I needed to change my attitude to start with, because I was complaining about why things weren't working, and I was focusing too much on why things weren't working. So when I, changed that to an attitude like, doing things, that, even door knocking. There's two different ways when you go and door knock, which I did a lot of door knocking to answer your question, okay? When you are knocking on a door and they open the door and you have this crappy attitude, they're gonna slam the door in your face, okay? But if you are in a different place, okay, energetically, and you are great, they're gonna want to talk to you about whatever. And you don't need to talk about the house. I mean, one of the things about door knocking is like, don't go in the door and be like, hey, my name is blah, 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 I wanna sell your house. Not gonna go well. Okay, so talk about something else. Talk about like, hey, whatever, I mean, it's a beautiful street, and my friend told me to stop by because he likes the house. Will you ever, find something, bring value to that person, why they would want to talk to you, right? And if you're friendly and you're happy and you have this energy, they're gonna want to engage and talk for a little bit, and then you grab that information. You don't expect to make the sale in the first door you're gonna knock. Maybe that's someone that you're gonna grab a name, okay, and then 3 years later, if you keep prospecting and you keep them in your database and you keep touching base, that person will call you. So,
so mindset
for sure.
Big thing.
Mindset's a big thing, and patience, and stick to it. Okay, it takes time.
Year one.
Well, Steve, it's an honest plug. Hire Steve. I mean, literally, I was sitting in the little entryway of Coldwell Banker Beverly Hills East, which is no longer there, 2001. And this intimidating guy comes walking in that they said was like the coach you need to have. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And, sat down with him. And that was the best decision I ever made. I mean, we worked with Steve for, 7, 8, 9 straight years, doubled our business every year until we hit 7 figures the first time. And it was the best thing because, again, even from my days of opening restaurants, I came into real estate knowing that a plan is important and measurement is important, having numbers. You just, this is an interesting business because a really successful business model is it's a really big barrier to entry, right? Try opening a title company, right? That's almost impossible. Good business. Real estate, wake up, decide you want a license, have it 3 months later. So the the barrier to entry is easy. So if you want to be excellent, don't just roll in and be like, all right, we're going to do this now. Have a plan. And then the mindset, which Santiago has said better than anybody, I won't drill on that anymore, but have the mindset that you're already a superstar because that's what people will feel then. Have a specific plan and execute the plan because then there is no mystery. I said I would do this. I did this. It all worked out great. The difference between how you do at the end of the year and what you wanted to do is exactly the difference between the actions you said you'd do and the actions you did. So if you can have clarity and you don't have to have a gap, then.
I always say there is a lot of people in California. There's more people in California that have real estate license than driver's license. Okay? And the reason is because they all go like, oh, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot because it's easy to get a license. I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. I mean, it doesn't work out. I'm going to do that. Don't even waste your time. If you want to do these businesses, I'm going to do this until I become a top producer, and that's what I'm going to do no matter what. That's the kind of mindset. There's no a plan B, okay? Because it distracts you from plan A. You need to have your plan A, and that's about it. That's what's going to happen. You need to have the attitude of the conquistadors, right? They went to a different city, and they burned their bridges because we're going to die or we're going to conquer. End of the story.
Parting words of advice for the group.
It's what Santiago said. Wake up and be grateful for your life. I mean, who are you? You get to have almost no employees, make an unlimited amount of money with a completely flexible schedule, meet unbelievably dynamic people in one of the greatest cities in the world. Shut up if you ever start complaining. You love your life, be grateful for this business, and have a plan and execute it. That's it. The greatest thing about this business that you taught me 20 years ago is it's a formula. Like you said, you've got the winning lotto number. Don't throw it away and look for the next winning lotto number. Just do what works. It's proven. You don't even have to be that good. If you just consistently do your okay stuff, you're still going to succeed. My big joke to people is, they're like, hey, should I get into real estate? I'm like, well, I'll tell you what. If you suck, you'll make twice of what you make at your job right now. because it's kind of true. But if you want to be amazing, then you need to have an amazing mindset and execute your plan and wake up grateful that you have this opportunity. Because on our worst day, we are so blessed.
Any parting words for the group?
Well, I think I just kind of said it before this, but it's just kind of, just be grateful. I mean, there's no better advice I can give you to wake up in the morning and feel grateful, because that's what's going to open up to the next one, which is going to be, okay, I'm happy now, what I'm going to do? And then you start setting your goals, You have to be happy with yourself, and you need to know who you are and what you want, because it comes from inside, okay? If you think that when you're selling the $100 million, when you have that car, when you have the house, then you're going to be happy, you're wrong. You're going to have all that, and you're going to be miserable. You need to be happy now where you are in order to be happy down the road to whatever else you're going to have.
Perfect. I absolutely love that. And there's another favorite saying that goes along with that. Want what you have. It's not about having what you want. And if you're constantly wanting what you already have, then you'll end up with everything you want anyway.
Yep.
I love these guys. Give them a big round of applause.
Good job, man. Likewise.